Let's go. Welcome to the idea of where we explore the noise, the nuance, and everything in between. I'm Mike, and this is a solo episode this week. And this is a space where culture, creativity, and conversation collide. Shout out to Bossy. Every quarter or so, um, we take an opportunity to do a solo episode, each of us, just to kind of give the other person a little respite to, get something that we might have on our heart and our mind off of our chest in a way that doesn't necessarily work with dialogue. And so I'm solo today. And if you've been listening to the podcast for the past few weeks, I've really been in a kind of a reflective place. I have been, I wouldn't say somber, but definitely more reflective, definitely more aware of the different identities that are front and center right now. And I think the one that's most front and center right now is my identity as a dad, as a father, specifically a father to a young man. There's so much conversation about girl dads and how important that is. And I'm definitely a girl dad. My girl is 13, she'll be 13 tomorrow, as a matter of fact. I can't imagine, of course I can't imagine my life without her, but or and I'm always thinking about what my role as a father is to my young man, to my boy who turned 19 in the summer, who just started his second year in college. And I am connecting my identity as a father to his growth while I am also thinking about myself at his age and what I needed from a father figure, from a father or father figure, right? And I think part of what has me in such this kind of loop of fatherhood and reflection is that the role of a dad, the role of a father, the role I play as a father is directly impacted by the role that my father did not play, the role that I wanted him to play, and me in current time trying to bridge that gap, right? Sometimes doing too much, right? Like sometimes taking on too much, sometimes, trying to prevent or get in front of maybe the pain that I experienced as a young man. But I didn't process it as pain. Like I'm not coming to you like I'm not coming to this episode like, oh, I'm in so much pain. My dad, why he? It was never like that. And I also understand that all of us, when we are in pain, our body's natural instinct is to stop the pain. So we will do things to, cover it up. We'll, if you hit your knee, you hit your funny bone on the wall, you're going to like walk it off, trying to, like try to walk it off. And I feel like on some level, I've tried to walk off the pain of not, of the idea of what I wanted my father to be. And I've tried to walk off that pain by being what I think or thought is a super dad, right? Like I'm trying to bridge that gap with everything, with the role that I play as a father. So yeah, I'm definitely I'm feeling that. I'm reflective in that, and I am wildly aware of how that impacts, I don't want to say mental health, but how it impacts my mental well-being. Like it might be the same thing, but how it impacts like how I operate in the world and how I operate as a father and the thoughts that I have and the guilt that I that I hold with me, and the and then the loose pain. I don't want to say pain, but like the loose pain of not having um what it's not even what I wanted, because you don't know what you don't know. But I also see how the lengths in which I go through to be there for my son is so taxing for me. And it's not like I don't want to do it. I just recognize, like, it's what I do. It's just like it's a part of my everyday, right? And I think that a couple things are coming into place here. The thing that's wild is that when it comes to parenthood, I've always said that, like, moms and the mothering diaspora have a way of minimizing the role of the other parent, right? Minimizing the things that the other parent does, right? Like, there's an entire narrative that, moms hold so much pain and they do this, and moms do carry the weight, and they have to do the silent stuff, and they have to do everything. And in that narrative, I think, whether intentionally or unintentionally, one would assume that dads are just chilling, like they're just doing stuff, checking things off the list, and that there isn't an an intense emotional weight that we all carry. And from the beginning of my podcast, when I started the idea of manhood 10 years ago, or however long ago, when I wrote the poem, The Idea of Manhood, years and years ago, that's where I was writing from. I was writing from, like, hey, everybody always talks about, like, parenthood from a mother perspective. And, like, there's this whole other thing that, am I the only one experiencing this? Like, is it only hard for me? Because what the fuck, right? So, all of this I'm carrying with me all the time. All of this I'm thinking about all the time. And being a father to my son is, especially within the last, like, 2 years, it's just been like, it's wild, because the I don't know, the difficulty, the challenges being a parent, a father to a young man. I genuinely think that it's so removed from the everyday narratives of childhood, of parenthood. There's just not very many spaces that, in a serious way, talk about, how hard it is to raise a young man. Like, there's joking pages you see, there's, people make fun of, dad, they come in all tough and you got to raise your boy. Like, I see so much, even on my timeline, the timeline that I curated with my own algorithms. There are more messages about the relationship between moms and sons, more than a serious reflection of what it is like to be a father raising a son. And that's cool. That's just the world. Like, that's just, what sells, and what people want to consume. I'm saying all this to say that, and I'm going to share some things in this episode that are extremely personal. Um I'm going to share some things in this episode about the relationship between me and my dad that I've never spoken out loud before. I thought about them. I used to write about it back in the day in college, where I didn't really understand what I was writing or understand what I was feeling. But what has uncovered these feelings are the challenges, and the immense weight of being a father to my son has shined a light on my relationship with my dad. And so I'm saying I'm going to share some things, because I'm not doing this. And y'all, if you listen to the show, like, what we're about and what I'm about. Like, this is not to be salacious. This is not to be like, Imma get that nigga. You know, it's not anything like that at all. And in the spirit of emotional accountability, in the spirit of how this content and how what I share may free a new dad or may free an old dad to be like, dang, like let me be a little bit more reflective of how I father and how I parent in these relationships with my kids. Um every child wants to be, I feel like with the dad, like I okay. This is meta. Like this is meta right now. Like this is like you talk about metacognitive, like for those that don't know, metacognition is like thinking about your thinking, right? Like layers and it's trippy a little bit because there are aspects of my fathering journey that feel like I've been there before, right? That feel like, have I done this? No, I haven't. It is the lack of having this kind of sounding board as a kid, my son's age, when I was 19, even though I had a stepfather, who I called, who to other people I called him my dad. So like this is not about it's not about I don't want to this is not a deficit conversation. Like this is not like, oh, here's what my dad did wrong. Here's what my stepdad did wrong. Even though it might highlight some of that, that's not where I'm living here. Where I am what I am communicating here is that fathers should take their role a little bit more seriously. And that, even that, as I'm saying, is like, that sounds kind of deficit, but it is in the most positive way that I want to share that sentiment, that fathers should take their role a little bit more seriously, a lot more seriously. The same lifeline that mothers provide to their kids as they're born, when they're born, from carrying the baby, from nurturing and caring and everything that the mother eats, the child eats, like that mentality of like, you know, women give life and there's a different level of weight and there's a different level of responsibility that go along with that and a different level of like intentionality and uh yeah, all that stuff that goes along with that we all know about, nursing and a mother's intuition, like all of that stuff that we all know and can spit out and is well documented, and every mom every chance they get is going to tell you how hard it is for them and how difficult and how they carry the weight of the world on their shoulder and life can't happen without us, like all of that energy. Fathers need to have that same perspective. And I'm wondering if by not having that perspective, right? If a young man, when they're, bearing a child, or when they're, when their wives are pregnant or their girlfriends or their partners are pregnant, whatever it is, and when the world is telling you like the woman is so beautiful, look at, they give life and they're so strong, human nature or not, like the human thing to do is like, damn, what do I do here? I'm just here. I'm just support. I'm the emotional support dog. You know what I'm saying? And I wonder, by so many dads taking that on as reality, so many dads taking like, oh, I'm just here to support the mom. Like, parenthood is not really about me. I wonder if that allows easy ticket out. If that narrative promotes so many men so easily being like, you don't need me here. Like, I'm good. And even if I'm here, like, you got it. Like, yeah, that's you. And then when the baby turns 2, then I'll come in. Or when they're ready to play sports, then I'll come in. You know what I'm saying? I just wonder like how narratives and how these conversations about parenthood seemingly pushes dads to the side and makes it easy for a weak-minded dude, not weak-minded, for a dude that's just paying attention. You know what I'm saying? Because that's why I'm correcting weak-minded, because there are times in my life, as much as I've always wanted to be a father, that's all I've ever wanted to do. Like from a child, I just wanted to be a dad. And I know, as I'm thinking why that is. We'll talk about that later. As much as that role as being a father, that role has been so important to me from before I was one, even I have had times where it's like, I'm not needed here. Like, y'all got it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not gonna include me. Like, you good. Like, yeah, yeah. Moms go through it all. Nothing over here. Like, I'm just chilling. Like, I'm just playing PlayStation. I'm just looking out the window, waiting for the kid to play sports. You know what I'm saying? As much as the role I know in my heart is so important, I too am still impacted by the narrative that like dads don't matter as much. And why I say I would love for dads to take their roles more seriously, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. I mean, taking the role more seriously allows us all to be like, no, that baby's gonna die if I'm not there. That baby will not be whole if I'm not there. That child have a will not have a strong foundation, a strong, like, understand boundaries. They won't understand balance. They won't understand fear and how to get through it if I'm not there. They won't understand overcoming obstacles if I'm not there. They won't understand what your presence means if I'm not there. They won't understand what your absence means if I'm not there. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the kind of thing that I want dads to take more seriously. Like, they're going to be hurting without you, the same way that we know a child, a girl or a boy would be hurting without their mother. That's the same mentality that I would love for all fathers to uh to to take on when they become fathers, before they become fathers. And that can only happen as we start to change this narrative. So I said I was going to share, some things that are going on right now, and I think it's a part of why so many conversations, and why my spirit has been a little heavy lately, is because um I'm not going to be all over the place. Everything I say and do in this conversation, even though I didn't practice it, you see I don't have anything written down. Everything has a reason. Like, and I believe that just as a facilitator, as a communicator, I might have a script for a conversation, but in the moment, if something hits me in my spirit and I say it, it's important, even if the audience doesn't recognize it is. I know it is, because that's how I roll. Anyway, um, when I was completing my doctorate, when I was completing my doctorate last year, 2 years ago, my research is about the impact of Black fathers in schools. And I did a study that worked to the study provided Black fathers in my study an opportunity to take photos of themselves, literally picture themselves in various roles in support of their child's education. And those pictures told a story that elevated the narrative about Black fatherhood. The premise of the study, or the research method, is called photo voice. And it's exactly what it sounds like. The photos provide Black dads the opportunity to have a voice in how they're perceived in the narratives that surround them. And so, powerful study. I loved it. I want to do another one. I want to take that methodology to schools around the country and write a book about it, and write books about it, and show dads in these amazing lights. Because at the end of the day, those pictures, those images, those narratives contribute to dads taking the role more seriously. So you see me, you feel me, huh? So when I was actually performing, when I was, going through my dissertation, my defense, the defense of my dissertation, right? And I'm going through the presentation, and when I was putting the PowerPoint together, I have a slide at the beginning where I included pictures because, imagery is important, especially in my study, of the different male father figures in my life that contributed to who I am today. And in that slide, it was my dad, my birth dad, my biological dad, my stepdad. It was Mr. Bullock, who, if you went to JMU, I know a lot of my JMU folks listen. Mr. Bullock was started out as my advisor, and then the director of multicultural student services. Then he was vice president of student affairs, and like his trajectory and his career, like I wanted to mirror that. So he was definitely a father figure. My stepdad, military man, immigrant to the country, came and made the most out of his situation, and I wanted to emulate so much of what he did. My real dad was strong, an athlete, charismatic, funny, and I wanted to emulate him as well. And so I put them on my slide, and I meant every word I said about them. Having them on that slide when I only had, like, 15 slides in my defense was important to me. Um, and so I go through my defense. Is great. It was like this heaviness in my heart, like a good heaviness. Like if you're watching a movie and it's gonna make you cry, and you feel that like heaviness, like that's how it was the whole time I'm doing my defense. And I didn't really, I assumed it to be, pride. I was proud of myself. It was the end of this journey. It was like crossing the finish line in a marathon. Like you work for weeks and weeks and weeks to run. You start running 1 mile, then 5 miles, and 8 miles, and 10, and then you finish with this race. You cross the finish line. It's like, yo, right? So that's what I thought I was holding. And I go through my defense. I had 70 something people on Zoom watching. I see my mom name. I see people in my life's name there. And I to this day, I don't know if my dad watched, my biological dad. I don't know if he watched or not. I think my stepdad was on there. I don't know. I think I saw his name. And if not, then I know he might have been watching with somebody, like, but I don't know if my dad was there. And like I don't I wasn't even that bad. I was like, all right, nigga, what fucking all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I don't know. I don't even know what to do with that. I'm putting that there. All right. That's a box, and I'm placing it right here. We're gonna come back to that box, right? So I go through the defense, and I'm thanking everybody, and everybody's clapping. Yeah, good job, Michael. And Dr. Darla Davenport, who was in cohort 5 with me, um, who was a phenomenal woman, who was the elder stateswoman of our grad program, the mother, the grandmother, the maternal force. She spoke so much life into all of us over the 4 years we were in that program. Darla, Dr. Darla Davenport came on the microphone and was like, breathe, Mike. And she does that all the time. Like, she's like, breathe, Mike. Like, you did it. You did it. Right. And I was like, yeah, I did it. You know what I'm saying? Breathe, Mike. And she said something like, and I don't remember the exact words. So I'm going to go back and watch it when I feel. She basically said something like, you did it. You showed up for yourself in a way your dad never could. The little boy inside of you is proud right now. And just like thinking about what she said in this exact moment, it brings tears to my eyes. And in that moment, I just like, that sentiment is there. Like, we're all trying to make ourselves proud. We're all trying to, remedy some of the our past beliefs or whatever, right? And when she said that, boy, I broke down. I sobbed. Like, I was on the camera, like, you know what I'm saying? Because in that moment, I'm looking around the Zoom room and I don't see my dad's name. And like her saying that allowed me to understand. And in that moment, it validated all of the everything that I had been caring about fatherhood. Me, my role as a father for my kids. And the tears that I cried on that screen it was tears of validation. It was tears. I was like, yo, Darla, no one's ever said that to me before, but that's why the fuck I'm so emotional all the damn time when it comes to my parenting, when it comes to being a father. Like, and I don't know if you work with, educators, you work with men, and you're in spaces where people are sharing things a lot, sharing their personal stories, sharing their growth. I used to joke it because the hardest of men, like the most toughest of gangsters, they'll talk about killing whole blocks. But as soon as they say, yeah, my son or my daughter, they be silly putty in your hands. You're always like, yo, why are men always crying about their kids? And I used to think that. I used to literally think that. I remember there was a supervisor I had when I worked at Salisbury University, Dave Gutowski. And he, I was 21 at the time, 22. And, in Res Live, you're talking about, your origin story. He would talk about his kids. He would always start crying. Like, Dave always crying, old soft ass Dave. Fucking Dave crying and shit. But and that's me. Like, I'm Dave. Like, I'm the crier. Like, anytime if I say my kid's name in a meeting, I'm gonna cry. But it wasn't until Darla made that comment, breathe, Mike, breathe. The little boy inside of you is so proud and so happy. You did it. I was like, yo, like, what are you trying to do? And I I remember that moment so vividly, and it was cathartic to me. It was therapy. It was in the moment therapizing me to understand how important my role is as a father. That moment, that one little statement made me realize, oh, this is what it's all about. This is why understanding fatherhood and for fathers to be in community with other fathers is so important, because the world will let you know and you will really believe that you don't matter and that your presence doesn't matter. And I say what you want, and I'm directing this particular statement to a lot of women, a lot of moms. Like, y'all be taking y'all many moms, not all, maybe not even some, um but sometimes moms will centralize their everything, right? They will really feel like the parental universe revolves around their existence. And we all understand and know how important mothers are. But sometimes kill me in the comments, sometimes taking that stance, moms, it really does diminish the other roles, if there is a fatherhood role. And I know it's not done on purpose. Like, it's not maliciously done. And individual moms might not even be doing it. But the collective narrative around motherhood sometimes is so toxic. And it's not toxic like mothers are toxic to their children. It's that mothers really feel, many of them, like they corner the market on parenting. Like only their perspective matters, only their feelings, only their emotions, only their grief, and only their perspective. Like they monopolize many moms. And again, it's not individual moms, it's the idea of motherhood sometimes monopolizes this. Like, if it's a parenting issue, it's me, it's mine. And all I'm saying is that dads also carry and should carry, if they don't carry it, they should carry that same weight. And they should really feel like without me, this whole shit's gonna fall apart. That's how fathers should enter the space of parenthood. That without me, this whole shit is fucked up. This whole family, the whole building, the whole existence of my family and my children will be fucked up if I'm not there. And I'm being so exact with my language because too often dudes be like, I'm out. I ain't doing this. Shit is too hard. I'm not doing this. To the point where men backing out of their responsibilities of being fathers is kind of like, yeah, sometimes that shit happens. No, it shouldn't happen that way. It shouldn't happen that way. Right. And I really genuinely hope that as folks are listening to this, as folks are preparing to write comments, if folks will be like, "Ooh, I'm gonna tell Mike's wife he up here." It's just, it's just not that simple. It's just not that black and white. It's just not that dichotomous. It's not that I'm mom bashing at all. It's just the reality of what I know as a dad that has been intentional about being a father years before I even wanted. I knew I was going to be one. You know what I'm saying? And if I felt those feelings of isolation and dismissiveness, and my existence and my experiences as a father don't matter, if I've experienced that, then I would assume that 98% of other dads have experienced the same thing. And I know, because I talk to niggas and I talk to my friends, that they're all feeling the same way. They're all of them, all my boys, all my guy friends, every dad I know feels this way. And they will never tell you. They will never say it. They will never go to their wives or go to their partners or go to their moms or go to their aunts or go to their whatever and say, yo, I'm feeling like this about fatherhood because shit, there's not enough room for both of our experiences in this parental journey. It's only her. And I'm here on the side just trying, make room. Every single man I know, no hyperbole. Um, and again, yes, so I'm saying all that to like, I hope you can tell by my demeanor, by the language that I'm using, by the history of what I've talked about, that this is absolutely not about bashing moms. If anything, it is about empowering dads to understand that this whole shit sinks without you, period. The whole shit will sink. The whole ship, the whole ship will sink, right? Without you. And you should go into fatherhood with that mentality. Don't matter what, no matter how angry she makes me, no matter how isolated I feel, no matter who does what to me, no matter what, no matter if my kids don't talk to me, no matter if my kids grow up and don't, and when they get on TV and they be like, oh, I want to thank my mom, no matter how many times that shit happens, that I'm still going to be here like, yeah, you better thank your mom first. You better thank your mom first, then thank me right after. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Like it's so important that dudes got to bring that energy, man. Fathers got to bring that energy. You got to be able to say, yeah, you better, as a young man, a young woman, you better thank your mom first, but don't you dare leave me out of the thanks. Don't you dare be like, yeah, my mom did everything for me. Thanks, mom. Without you, I wouldn't be here, and then walk off the screen. You better say, yep, my mom did it. Without her, I'm nothing. And my dad too. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. So dads, understand your role. Because my father, and this is not me getting emotional, this is just me trying to find the right way to say what I'm thinking and what I want to say. Because my father's not talking to me at the moment. My father is not talking to me. My father is not talking to me at the moment. All right. Now, I am also not reaching out to my father at the moment. So let's keep it balanced, right? Let's provide some accountability on my part, right? I'm also not reaching out to my father at the moment. I talked to my dad the other day, um, because, and I'm definitely not going to go into this part, but like, talked to my father the other day. One of our siblings, one of my siblings, one of his kids, is going through a challenging time right now, and I called him to be like, "Yo, somebody needs you, bro. Like, somebody's going through it." And yeah, uh-huh. Yeah, bro. Like, you can't you right? And his response was basically, and I'm simplifying it, but his response was like, "Yeah, but what about me?" His response was like, "Well, nobody called me." His response, like, and again, I'm a storyteller. I am a facilitator. I am a communicator. So please believe that if I'm telling you a story, if I'm giving you something, that I am not trying to paint anyone in any other color than the color that they deserve, than the color that I've warranted as a storyteller is fair, right? I could take this story and villainize my dad like in a really, really, really damaging and horrible way. And I'm not. I'm being honest. Because I think through that honesty, we are liberated. We are liberated to do better, right? Anyway, so one of my siblings is going through a difficult time, in silence by themselves, and I reached out to him, and he was, hurt by their actions, by my siblings' actions, and instead of you know instead of doing what I would do. So here's the point where I want to provide some fairness and provide some perspective taking. What I would have done would be like, tell me how, when, where, what do I need to do? Let's go. I don't care what they did to me. Let's go. Where do I pick them up at? Where I pick them up at? What do they need? What do they need? When? Now? Okay. I'm in my car. Call me in my car. That's me. That's how I would respond. That's how I would respond. Where are they at? I'll go get them. They can stay here. We good. We good. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. I got you. I'll call you back in a few. I gotta go. I gotta go. Hmm? Hmm? That's how I'm responding. His response wasn't that, right? His response there was hurt there for sure. There was like, oh man, I didn't know. But that quickly transitioned into, well, they don't call me. Well, I didn't know. Like, how, what am I supposed to do? I didn't know. So I sat on the phone in what would, most people would have become really angry. And I know for a fact, maybe 10 years ago, even maybe 20 years ago, I would have clapped back on that nigga so hard. I would have been like, you mother, like, that would have been completely warranted if I did that in that moment. I felt so, so sad. I feel so sad for him. And I started to think like, yo, like, how did we get here? Like, how is that your response? Like, what would have had to have happened in history to get to the point where one of my children is going through a challenge, and my first response is someone says, hey, someone's struggling, that I'll be like, damn, but they ain't call me though. Why they ain't call me? And then the rest of our conversation, when I talk to him, was about him. It was about him feeling pushed to the side. It was about him feeling neglected. Which he probably, all those feelings are real. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not here saying that, oh, he should never feel like, no, all those feelings of him being isolated and his kids not talking to him and nobody looks for me, no one says me things on Father's Day, blah blah blah. All that we don't. You're right. We don't. We don't. And right now, that's not the point. Like that's not what we're here for right now. We'll talk about that. Maybe we can talk about that. And I even said, because I was coming from such a destitute place for my sibling, that I even said, because I was trying to prevent from getting angry in the moment and blowing the whole shit up. I even said, like, I know, like, yeah, I that's gotta be hard. So this is me in the moment counseling my dad while he's having a 75-year-old temper tantrum, or however old he is, about us not reaching out to him. So I'm like, damn, like, that's tough, man. I know that's gotta hurt. And also, our sibling is hurting right now. So I was even like, maybe this is a good time. I said this on the phone in that moment. I was like, I hear you, and maybe this could be a reset for all of us. Maybe like how you respond in this exact moment could be like a reset for us, and maybe we can do this. Maybe we can, let's help out our sibling, and you know and use this as a moment to build and show that you can show up now, because nigga, you haven't been there. You see what I'm saying? So that's the full circle of this conversation, of this episode, is that so many times fathers will be like, and I'm saying fathers, I'm really thinking about my father and some, few stories, things I've read, just like feeling and sentiment that I have about, the fatherhood narrative. Fathers will remove themselves from a parental role, right? By leaving the family, moving on, whatever, not being actively involved. They'll remove themselves and then be upset when niggas forget about them, or when they don't honor them, or when they don't include them in things. And so that's why my message from the beginning of this episode in general has been, dads, like, we got to know how important we are, because we cannot have the reaction of removing ourselves when things get hard. And what I know, and the thing is, listen, I empathize with my dad, because our kids always do shit that disappoints us. Our kids do things that we don't understand. And I'm thinking specifically of my son. I'm thinking of my son. Like, he hasn't disappointed me in the true sense, but he's done things. I'm like, what's going on? Right? He said things to me, you know, that I expect a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid to say. you know, he's selfish. My son is sometimes, like, he's in the age range of, that's age appropriate behavior, right? And as someone that can acknowledge that, I don't take any of that shit seriously. Take any of that shit to heart. Why? I don't take it to heart to the point where I'm like, oh, well, fuck him, I'm not gonna talk to him. Nah, he don't listen to me, so, you know what I'm saying? He don't call me on Father's Day, so I'll show him. You know what I'm saying? But I understand where that sentiment comes from. I understand feeling that. I understand what it feels like to be, or to feel like you're ignored by your kids. And you listen, I'm in my kids' life so heavy that even if I text for a day, I might send a text or reach out, call. Even if they don't call me back in a week, there's nothing that's gonna make me feel like, damn, they forgot about me. Woe is me. Nothing will make me go there. If anything, I'll be like, damn, I gotta try harder. Let me try a different method. And if it got to the point where, you know, I've talked about this on I think on the last episode. My son transferred schools. I know he's feeling a way about it, right? And I know deep down inside, he'll probably be going to his therapist in 5 or 10 years. And the narrative that he's going to tell the therapist is that my parents made me transfer schools and I was happy at Wilmington. They made me go to Catholic. And I know that. And I embrace that that's how he feels, right? But let's say, and I'm making up a whole fucking story right now. Let's say he gets to that point and he's like, I'm mad at my dad because he ruined my life and he made me transfer to da, 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 and he stops talking to me, right? He stops like he's not gonna reach out to me anymore. You know what my response would be? Nigga, so what? I'm gonna be right there. I'm gonna be right there. We cannot talk to each other together. Huh? That's what I mean by like dads got to understand their role because I know all that shit will blow over. And I'm completely making up a scenario. I don't know. This transition, he transferred schools. This transition to a new school, it might be the best thing in his life, and he'll love me for it. He'll love us for it. Or based on behavior, he'll think that he made the best decision that he's ever made if this transition goes smooth. And I'm also prepared if the transition isn't smooth, that he'll blame us. And that's the burden of parenthood. Feel me? That is the burden that parents carry. That the decisions that we guide our kids through, may be good, may be bad. It might come with blame. It might come with shame. It might come with all these heavy ass emotions. And regardless, I'm going to be right here. That's gangster dadhood to me. That's how you be a gangster father. It's like, yeah, nigga, maybe I fucked up your life. Maybe I made you make a wrong decision, or maybe I guided you to a wrong decision. Maybe you hate me. Maybe you don't like me. Maybe you don't want to speak to me. Maybe you don't like how I was a parent. And so what? Huh? I'm going to be right here. You see what I'm saying? And I wish my dad would take that stance. I wish my dad would have taken that stance, not just in this call from last week, about our sibling that's going through it, but just throughout all of our lives, man. I wish that um all the times when I felt silent, I'm talking about me, all the times I didn't call my dad back, all the times that, I ignored my dad's phone calls or texts or didn't wish him happy birthday or was angry at him for a decision my dad wanted me to join the military. In the middle of college, I asked for money and I was like, yo, can I join can I get, I just need like $1,200 so I could pay these fees. And he was like, nah, nigga, go join the army. Literally, I'm not joking. But like, and I was so mad at him, and I was so mad. I held that anger for a good 10 to 12 years. Me, angry. I hate him. He let me go to the army. And I and I almost joined the army. And like, I feel like I might be in the army. I don't know. But anyway, I didn't join the army. That's the story for another time. Next time I do my solo episode, I'm going to talk about how I might be in the army right now. I might be in the army. I don't know. I might be. But I was so angry with him and I didn't talk to him for years. I probably didn't talk to my dad for 8 years, 9 years straight, 6 to 8 years. I didn't talk to him. And I wish that he would have taken the stance of, so don't talk to me. I'm still going to reach out to you. I'm still gonna love you. Like, okay, that's cool. And so what? Get over yourself. You know what I'm saying? You're good now. You graduated. You got a job. You got a family. You got kids. Whatever. Welcome me back in. Like, here, welcome me back in. Hey, I'm here. I'm dad. Like, fuck all that. Like, we did that. You're not in the army. Congratulations. Like, welcome me back in. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is the that is the stance that I would take. And another maybe another lesson here is that you can't expect yourself from other people. But I feel like when it comes to parenting, I feel like we expect ourselves from our parents. And that is tricky, man. It's dangerous. It leads to a lot of unmet expectations. It leads to a lot of anger because again, we're expecting ourselves from our parents, and I do. And I'm not gonna change that. I do. Especially my dad. And especially my dad because now I'm a dad. And I know how hard it is. I know. But fam, you don't just get to take on and wear the hat of being a dad because you helped make me. Doesn't work. Doesn't work like that. So when my dad now is crying, oh, nobody loves me. No, no, no. No, nigga, you had opportunities and still do to, you know, if not me, you got one, two, three, four, five. Wait, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. You got 8 grandkids, 9 grandkids. And at least with my 2, there's no relationship. There's no relationship because he's holding on to the resentment of being isolated by me. And so as a result, he's removed himself from the lives of his other grandchildren, of our children, his grandchildren, and other grandchildren of his, right? And it all boils down to this. If he understood and if dads understood how important their role is, they would not so easily give it up. They would not so easily allow the real and human emotions, right? I'm not saying they're fake. The real emotions of feeling isolated, feeling left out, feeling like nobody cares about me, feeling like, oh, I did all this and nobody respects it. Those are real. A dad that understands his role would not let those things get in the way of a real relationship, or at least extending and trying to connect in a real way with his children and with his grandchildren. So, that's real, man. This is where we are. That is where I am now with the relationship with my dad and how our recent conversations are causing me to be reflective and to be really, I don't want to say understanding, but like the relationship between me and my son is one that like it's hard. It's hard for me to describe like the grace that I give my son. And and as I have these conversations, and I don't talk to anybody about this stuff because it's just too much to like unload to other people. And this is the perfect medium because no one's going to talk back to me and tell me like, maybe you should think about it like this. No, fuck you. No, I don't want that. But, damn, oh yeah, grace. So the grace that I give to my kid, to my son in particular, that I know I'll give to my daughter, once her like, you know, I think someone told me years ago, like little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems, right? Like when you have little kids, they have little problems. Oh, I hurt my knee. I broke my leg. Oh no, my classes. Oh, when you have big kids, it's like what I want to be. How do I want to interact with the world? Do I want to take more than I give from different environments? And how do I guide through that? How do I treat women? How do I treat my friend? So like little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems. And so I want my kids to know, and my son in particular, as we're talking about right now, that it doesn't matter as he's kind of fumbling through life, as all people do when they're 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, as he's fumbling through life and just trying to figure shit out and maturing at the same time and growing, his brain is developing and all this she's gonna say, she's gonna do shit that I'm not gonna understand, that's gonna make me angry, that's gonna, piss me off, that's gonna like make me question. It's gonna be all these things that he's doing. I want him to know that it doesn't matter. He could go from wall to wall figuring shit out. And I'm going to be the constant. That my mood, my the way that I engage with him the love that I not that I have, because that's going anywhere, that's gonna stay, but the love that I exude, the way that I engage with him is going to remain the same, if not turn up when he does dumb shit. You know what I'm saying? That, if he fails a class, which he hasn't yet, which he hasn't, I'm not gonna say yet, not gonna what, if he gets in trouble, if he gets arrested, if he, he does something stupid, if because they all do. So if and when that happens, I want my son to know that everybody in the world might turn their back on him and be, I'm so disappointed in you, how dare you, and cry and internalize his actions on themselves and make shit about them. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna be your dad. And I'm gonna be like, yeah, now it's crazy, but I got you. We'll figure this out. I want my kid to always know we'll figure this out, regardless of what he did to me or what he perceived he did to me, what he perceived I did to him, whatever. And to me, that mental work, that is what makes fatherhood so hard. It's so different from being a mom. And I won't even go into why that's different than being a mom, but I just know I know. Like, just know that it is, right? From my perspective, right? You're gonna give, a kid is gonna give bad news to their mom. They're going to disappoint their mom. They're gonna disappoint grandma. And they're gonna cry. They're like, "How could you do this to me? I don't even. Why would he do me, dads?" We're gonna be like, "Word, that was dumb. But all right, let's figure this out." You know what I'm saying? Let's figure this out. I got you, bro. I got you. And that's the grace that I'm talking about. That's the grace where it's like, okay, that's the role that I would love for all dads to take with their kids. That regardless, without me, this whole shit fails. Without daddy, all this shit will crumble. So I need to be there. Even if I'm not with the mom, even if I'm not with the partner, even if I'm not living in the household, whatever it is, that without me, this whole shit dies. So it doesn't matter what you do or what you don't do. I'm going to be right here. And I just need more dads to take that role, man. That's all I want to say for today, man. This is a really trying time in a beautiful way. They talk about like the beautiful struggle of being a dad to a young adult while your dad is alive and doing what they're doing and trying to be in the middle and trying to use both, understanding and reason and all these things to make sure everybody's okay while maintaining a level of humanity and order, right? Like all these emotional shits is heavy and we can go any which way. But I feel like men, honestly, not only, stereotypically, I feel like, we provide order, we make sure shit, blah, 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 whatever, right? All that shit. But I think that um, there's an emotional job that I think fathers have to take on to keep the emotional order in a household. And I'm thinking like, is that too like sexist? Is that genderish? I don't think so, because I think it's as important as all the roles that that moms, traditional, moms take in the household. I think that there is parallel parallel importance and of parallel roles that fathers need to take that continue to keep folks in their household healthy, sane, grounded, cared for, in a way that I really only think fathers can do it. But yeah, that's it, y'all. I've talked for a lot today for myself, an hour and something minutes. But thanks for listening. Please make sure you subscribe if this is your first time listening. Subscribe, leave a comment. If you hated everything I said today, let us know. Let's have a conversation about it. If you loved it, let us know. And shout out to Bossy. we'll be back next week. But in the meantime, keep finding the truth in the chaos, the clarity in the culture, and the joy in the journey. And I'll holler at y'all next week. Peace.